tonight, eh?
Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
It's like, so if you have your friend's microphone and computer and internet kind of dated, but then they broke up, but then your other friend is also other people on the internet, you know, it's like two groups and they just don't get together like that. It's like that. They got two separate groups that don't talk.
The voice you hear, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than Shane the Young Gun. Yes, I agree with everybody. Where has he been? Why hasn't he been in the studio?
I have been everywhere, man.
You and Hank Snow.
Yep.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. Hey, how come you sent your brass locomotive to Adam?
Because me and painting don't do well. And
Really?
Brass and Adam do really well.
Really? I thought you were pretty good at painting.
I'm all right at painting. I've never done brass before. If I had like a small car or something, like an automobile car in N-scale to try, I might. But on a tunnel motor, I just wasn't super proud of my abilities to make an attempt. I didn't want to mess anything up, so I figured it was easier just to send it up to him, and he did an absolutely fantastic job on it.
Did you get it back already?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got it. It's in a million pieces because I was trying to do the sound install and the board fried on me, but I mean, there you can kind of halfway see it in the box there.
Yeah, well, this is audio, so nobody can see it.
Well, I brought it into the studio to show you. The rest of you can just imagine what it looks like. No, it's just an SD45 T-2 and SP speed lettering paint.
So how long was it between when you sent it and when you got it back?
A couple weeks.
He is so fast.
Oh, he's wicked quick.
I know. Like, there's something wrong with him.
Or something right, one of the two.
No, there's something wrong because he's not like everybody else. Like he gets stuff done like in a nanosecond, and he gets it all done and finished. Now, what do you build? What is that you're building?
This is a kit I'm building for MRN. It's from inscalelaser.com, Ansell Industries, ANSELL. It's some gentleman that Gordy knows that wanted his stuff reviewed, so I'm putting it together right now.
For MRN, which is Model Railroad News.
Yep.
Because you're an assistant editor.
Yes, I am.
And so now you're doing a review for Model Railroad News.
Yep, among other things. I got about a million other things to finish, but I'm working on... We've had these buildings for a while, so we're trying to get them cranked out here.
And this is a friend of Gordy Robinson. So who is the guy's name?
I don't remember. I don't recall the gentleman's name.
Or
that'd be an answer or a question for Tony.
Yeah, but I mean the business. What's the business called?
It's Ansell Industries, ANSELL.
Okay.
You can find them if you type in inscalelaser.com. No spaces, no dashes, nothing. NSCALELASER.com.
See, we've only been together a couple of minutes here again, and we haven't talked for like 2 months, and already I'm annoyed.
Well,
N-scale laser?
Yes. .com.
Yeah, you could have rather than tell me Ansell Industries. Man, oh man, that's the trouble with you young kids nowadays. When I was a boy, I was a lot smaller. Now, how did I manage that? I did that, and then I ended up coming up to Patreon. Now, Patreon is driving me nuts because people that are using their that have Android phones can't download the shows onto their phone, which is driving everybody crazy.
Huh.
So, and then Michael Peterson from Iowa Scaled Engineering figured out that somehow they're transferring our podcasts into MP2s, but trying to talk to these guys, it's like slowly. It's like trying to get you to get your mic working.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
He tells jokes too.
I tell jokes as well. I'm going to click on that again. Let's see what happens. N-Scale Industries. Okay. Oh, there it is. It's not secure. Well, this is a weird one. It says not secure. All right.
Yeah.
Why does it say that, I wonder? How
if it was secure, it would mean that Peter Borchers was working on it.
Yeah.
That's why Gordy's working on
it. Yeah, Gordy's not secure. Okay. All right. So you've been doing a million things. We haven't had a Shane show for like ever.
Ain't that the truth?
And you're doing a million things right now. While you're talking to me, you're trying to do a review for Model Railroad News. Tony tells me there's more. What do we call them? Modules being built.
Photo modules. Yep. He's working on a City Classics gas station. Ooh. Got my spooky lights installed here. Lights are flashing in the studio for the folks at home.
Yep.
Tony's working on a City Classics gas station, and
now your lights are flashing on and off.
It's because I've let this wire stick or hang down for so long.
You got to start getting all this stuff straightened out. What happened to that? Well, how old are you now? 22?
I feel like I'm 6 sometimes.
Yeah, I know. But you're 22 now, right?
Yes, I'm 22.
And I met you when you were 19? 18. 18.
Something to that effect. 18, 19, something like that.
Yeah. So now your lights are flashing on and off.
Yeah. Good fun.
That workbench was pretty clean there a few months ago.
The
new workbench.
Yeah, at one point it was real nice and smooth, and then Brooke wanted to come in, and she brought her computer in here so she could play games while I build stuff, so I have to kind of keep this space somewhat clean, or at least clean enough to be able to shove it out of her way.
So she sits right beside you playing games?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah, she got tired of sitting down on the other end of the apartment.
Right.
When we play games, so we brought hers down here so we don't have to log into Skype to talk to each other when we play games.
Well, you should be using the Wereby.com to log into each other. That way you'd learn how to work it, and then you'd be off to the races.
Well, see, we actually use Discord, which I'm actually a much bigger fan of.
Discord? I haven't tried Discord. What's that?
It's essentially a Skype appear in Google Plus kind of thing all rolled together. Essentially, you can get all your friends on Discord, and it was originally made for gaming. You can get groups of people together. They can post stuff on a wall. So if you guys are doing a show, you can say, hey, we're doing a show at this time. Anybody wants to come, you can put it up on that wall. The calls are a little easier to manage. My equipment actually works with it, which is kind of one of the other big things. But it's kind of nice.
All right, so I'm gonna have to check that out, maybe.
Yeah, or we can keep struggling with this. Whatever. I mean, it seems to work with everybody else, and you only talk to me every 3 months, so I feel like you guys are on an all right path.
Hey, now, come on, I'll talk to you every week if you're available, but you're so friggin' busy now. Come on, don't be putting this one on me now. Come on now.
I only give you the opportunity to talk to me every 3 months.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, you've been to Durango, you've been to SoundTraxx, you've been all over the place.
Oh, we've been everywhere lately.
All right, let's not get off these cover photos that you're working on. So what are you working on? What cover photo?
So we're working on, I don't remember I wish I could remember the company that makes the cars to save my life. There's a company that made some brand new HO cars, something metal, something, we just talked about it on Saturday when Tony and I ran around to the shops. Anyway, he's got a guy working on a review for him, and he had to go pick up another set to do photos. So while we were out, we were at Midwest Model Railroad out there on 40 Highway in Independence, which a lot of guys will recognize from the website. They now have a storefront out there in Independence, just a little bit east of Kansas City, and it is a must-stop shop. If you're moving through or if you guys come to visit, it's a fantastic shop. The amount of stock they have is just amazing to start with. Really? So
is it like the best shop in town now?
Very easily could be, yeah.
How many shops does Kansas City have now?
4, technically 5, but there's one a little bit way outside of Kansas City, Frank's, but he does mostly O-scale, G-scale. There's Doc's down on the West Bottom. He does a little bit of N-scale, a little bit of HO. Midwest is nice, although a lot of guys go out there expecting a train shop where there's a lot of cars and rolling stock, and he does have a lot of stuff, but really the Midwest is good for anything you need to build a layout. I mean, they've got everything except for what seems like lumber to build a layout.
Okay.
Woodland scenic stuff, buildings, switches, turnouts, DCC systems, decoders, engines, cars, LEDs, sanding sticks, paints, you name it, they've got it out there. And they've got a great selection, too.
Okay.
Although the only thing you have to be careful of is they don't have any prices posted because it's technically their warehouse for the website.
Yeah.
So that's how they get you, man. You get a pile of stuff up there to the register and you're like, oh, this will be about $20. And he rings it up and you're $240. And you're like, oh, right.
So they have no prices on anything because it's their warehouse.
Yeah. But if you ask them, they'll look it up. And he's got really good prices compared to a lot of places, whether online or offline.
Okay. And Docks and West Bottoms is a cool shop.
Yeah. I mean, the location alone is being literal feet off the UP main line, and that whole West Bottoms area is a lot of fun to run around in.
Yeah. So when I'm there next Wednesday, are you going to take me to Stone Canyon Pizza?
I mean, if you're coming down, yeah.
Me and Tony, we're making a trip for the ages. We're getting in the Cadillac. We're getting in the Caddy. We're going to Denver, Moffat Tunnel, Caboose, not Caboose Hobbies, Caboose, Greeley Train Museum. Then we're going to go see the big boy up there in Cheyenne as it heads west through Wyoming. Then we're going over to Dressler, to Spring Creek Models, and then we're going to Strang, Nebraska, and then back to Plattsburgh.
I'll tell you what, you guys are making a trip and a half, aren't you?
Yeah, well, Tony says 3 days.
Oh, yeah, I bet you could be done.
That seems to me like, that seems pretty tight to me. Tony doesn't have a lot of time anymore.
But ain't that the truth? Somewhere between he didn't have a lot of time. Well, he wasn't feeling good last week. I was surprised I got him down on Saturday to go hit hobby shops. He said one hadn't been feeling too good the last few weeks, but tell you what, man, with him cranking out as much on the magazine, I try to do as much as I can, whether it's photography or, anything, just to try and ease the load on him. But yeah, he does an absolute pile of work for that magazine.
Yeah, he's doing everything now because he does the layout as well as the editor of the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So then we've been talking for a long time about doing a road trip together in the Caddy. Mm-hmm. And we both agreed that we could find like 5 days there. If next on the 24th, he has to put it to bed. Put the magazine to bed. Magazine gets shipped out on the 24th, ready off to the printer. And then in there we got like five or 6 days right there. So we're hopping in the Caddy, and we're doing a trip for the. And he says to me today, he says, "Oh, I wish I had my Lincoln pickup truck." And I said, "No, this trip is the." This trip is the Caddy. You've been talking about the Caddy, the AML Caddy forever. I said, we have to do one trip in the Caddy. What did I text him today? Let me just read it. I'll read it directly to you what I texted him today because we were going back and forth. Because I sent him a message like, we've been talking about this for like a year. So I sent him a message like 2 days ago. I said, so are we doing this or what? And then he was like, and he says, oh, I saw you went to see the Blues Brothers. So he goes, UP's big boy heads west out of Cheyenne on Friday the 27th. And I said, I know. So I'm thinking this is a no-brainer. And I said, I want to see Moffat Tunnel, Caboose, Greeley Train Museum, Big Boy, Spring Creek, and Strang, Nebraska. Is that possible? He goes, easy trip, doable in, say, 3 days. And then he goes, wish I had the Lincoln pickup truck. And I said, me too, but we have to do one epic trip in the Caddy. One for the ages, I put. So.
Because that's all he's been talking about is that truck ever since he saw the mule with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
All I ever hear on the weekends is, he was just telling me this last weekend. The week we were in Durango, he found one up in St. Joe for like $9,000, and he said if I'd have been in town, he would have called me to take him up there and get it. That's all he does is look for these new SUV trucks that they made for a handful of years.
And I said we have to do one trip in the Caddy, but it's hard for us to get in and out of it because it's so low.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, that'll just be part of the trip. We'll just
step stools under the seat.
Yeah, we'll just sleep in the Caddy. The last good picture the last time I saw you was at the picnic. So that's not that long ago. That's only like 2.5. That's only like 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's not that far back.
Yeah, it's only like, and the last picture I have of you was you laying on the ground trying to get your phone out from underneath the caddy.
Yeah, we weren't doing good work that day.
Yeah, well, you didn't comment on that. I thought maybe I made you mad because I put that picture out.
No, it's actually quite funny to see me with my hand. It looks like I'm down there trying to change the oil filter below the engine there. I got my hand so far under that coal car.
So now you've driven the caddy.
Yes, got to drive it back from the barbecue.
So how does it drive?
Oh, boy, is it smooth. A little heavy. Tell you what, that thing is a land yacht.
Yeah, exactly. It's the shortest land yacht that's on the seas.
Oh, for sure. But, man, is that thing just smooth as can be.
And what's he got on it now, like 30,000 miles?
Something like that. Yeah. I think his caddy and my terrain have the exact same number of miles, or pretty close to.
And you already got like 30,000 on your terrain?
Oh, yeah. I put 11,000 on since I got it 6 months ago, between driving to Tennessee for scale trains, Durango. What else do we do? We did another little trip here somewhere. I don't remember what it was. But, yeah, we've I've been tacking on the miles.
I think I made Shane Wilson at Scale Trains mad.
Yeah? What'd you do now?
Well, I haven't posted any of the interviews I did yet on that day. And to be quite honest with you, I kind of just stared at the recorder for like a month thinking I don't even want to listen to these because remember I had that cold that day.
Right.
And I thought I don't even want to listen to these. So, but then eventually I started listening to them and they actually turned out really good. But I haven't posted them yet, broadcast them yet. And I think Shane's mad at me. I sent him an email saying, hey, Shane, I listened to the broadcast and these recordings and they're really good. Let's do a half an hour. And then I never heard from him again. So I think
he's a busy man.
I think I made him mad.
Well,
you don't want to make Shane Wilson of ScaleTrains.com mad.
No, of course not. That's why the first thing when I saw him there at the RPM in St. Louis, I went over and shook his hand and thanked him for having us back out there in Tennessee. And I told him if there's anything he needs, let me know. And I was going to walk away before I say anything else with my foot in my mouth. And I walked up. No, it's kidding. Yeah, he's a good guy.
How was the RPM meet?
It was good. It's always fun because it really is a social show. Getting to see Shane, George there with SoundTraxx, Spoon, and a lot of those guys ended up going, as well as just the caliber of modelers that exist in that St. Louis area, let alone the people that go as well. It's just incredible, some of the modeling those folks do over there.
I know. It's and it probably, how many people do you think they had there?
Oh.
Like, was it packed the whole time?
For the most part, yeah. It was, I wouldn't say it was shoulder to shoulder people, but I mean, the aisles were pretty full with folks most of the time. I'm trying to think of what they announced it there at the end that it was an attendance record. I just don't remember what their attendance number was, but it was a pretty good turnout for that show.
All right, I'm gonna look right now. RPM St. Louis. See, I'm gonna work the Google on the internet machine and see and see if they have the attendance on there. 2019 St. Louis RPM. Wow! Thank you everyone who attended. Beautiful models, great friendship. We catch our place. Please make a note of 2020. Nope, there's no mention of how many people showed up. Man, I
don't remember off the top of my head, but it was a pretty good number, though. I do remember that much.
Well, they say bring your models for next year and help us hit our goal of 5,000 models. Holy mackerel.
I believe there's enough table space. They had a couple of empty tables this year, which actually surprised me in terms of the display areas, but I know they had quite a few tables that were filled with just model stuff. I know I was right inside the door there. I don't think Spoon brought anything down. I'm trying to think who else was around me. Buddy of mine over there in St. Louis was next to me, does custom painting stuff. A couple other folk. I mean, it was a pretty good turnout, though.
Yeah.
I was a little let down with some of the clinics, though.
Really?
Yeah, we went to Mike and a couple other folks and we went to a street running clinic, which I thought was going to be a lot of how to model street running. And it's the gentleman that's been published in MR. I don't recall his name off the top of my head. He has a New York Central or D&H River Terminal type layout in HO. And it was a lot of him talking about his layout. And it wasn't really about the street, because it's only like a 5-foot section of his layout that's actually street running.
Right.
And I think maybe a total of it was an hour and a half, I think, and I think maybe 10 minutes of it was about street running. And at the end, he said, if you want to know more about the street running, you can read the whatever month MR that has an article about it. I'm like, well, why was it called street running if we just talked about your layout? It should have been called, this is my layout with a touch of street running.
So you weren't crazy about that one then?
No, I was really excited for it because at that time I was still planning on having a street running portion on my layout.
Right.
And then since then we've redesigned it and no longer has street running.
And who is we?
Who is we?
Yeah, well, you say we've redesigned it. Who's the we?
Oh, me, myself, and I. We kind of fight each other sometimes, but we mostly get along.
Oh, okay. All right. So the three of you have been working on it.
Yeah.
So how is the layout coming?
It's coming.
Yeah, it's slow going.
Staggered process.
Slow going because you're so busy doing the model railroad news stuff.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, right now I'm laying cork, and I'm trying to get some of my buildings roughed out so I can get a spacing for my sidings and kind of have an idea of where all the tracks can end up. The yard ladder's done. The yard tracks are cut. I could probably go ahead and tack them down, and then the first leg coming across the middle modules from the curve turnout are cut and ready to go down. And that's about as far as I've gotten. And there's a picture, if you go to my Brakeman 17 Facebook page, there's a picture of the layout design over there.
All right. I'm going to go do that right now. I'm going to work the Google on the internet machine again. Well, no, I'm going to go to Facebook and I'm going to put in Brakeman 17. That's kind of a cool name. How'd you come up with that?
I was wanting to be a brakeman.
Right.
Or a conductor, and then 17 was my lucky number. So
17's your lucky number. That's because
I was born.
Because you were born on February the 17th.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. All right, let me see here. Oh, it's got. Look at this. You've been posting. You posted something 13 hours ago. You posted something yesterday. Man, look at you. Oh, there's the new layout plan. Is that the one that's colored and everything?
Yeah, it's got the two people standing in the middle of it.
Yeah. So are those? Who are those two people supposed to be? That's you and who else?
Me and myself. I was out that day, so we were not able to get him in the picture. Really wish we could have waited today, but the photographer was there, and we didn't have a choice.
So if anybody,
well, I don't mean to bore you. Please feel free to turn it off if you're just not absolutely thrilled.
I am absolutely thrilled. We haven't even got to the good stuff yet. See, that's why I like talking to you, because there's a million questions to ask you. So, okay. So what software did you use to design this?
This was AnyRail 6.
That AnyRail, I should track that guy down and interview him.
Oh, it's a great software.
Called AnyRail 6. And so you posted this on August 17th on your Facebook page, Brakeman 17 Custom Models.
Yep.
So if anybody wants to see it. So have you got all the bench work up?
Benchwork's been done for 2 or 3 months. It's just kind of been I cut all my buildings out of cardboard, and I've just been trying to figure out how to fit all my buildings together. One of the other buildings we'll be reviewing here pretty soon is the UPS terminal from Walthers in Inscale that they'll be bringing out here in, I think, a month or two.
Right.
And Tony insisted it had to be on the layout so we could shoot it for the magazine. And it's the one building that never quite fit anywhere I put it.
Okay.
Until I came up with this design. It's actually the one building that kind of prolonged the entire process of getting a design down, because I wanted every building to be on the layout in full, not cut down. Because I feel like that's what a lot of guys do, is they compress stuff and they try and make a lot of stuff into a small space. And you just lose that natural, I guess that natural sense of space, because there is a lot of open space, even in a heavy industrial area. So I just didn't want everything to be too spaghetti bold or compact. And, it's not meant to be a big layout. It's only 8x4. So I just didn't want to have a sense of, like the walls were closing in on you. Everything was real tight and compressed.
Right.
So that's the one thing that kind of prolonged layout design, because I think that is version 1.3 or 1.4 maybe.
Right.
In terms of what I drew up on the computer, but that's not I can't tell you how many different variations I used on actually putting cardboard down on the benchwork to figure something out. It just seemed like I was never going to get anything nailed down.
Yeah.
But
so then you went ahead and, man, oh man, you do a lot of, you're no Adam Pinellas, but you get a lot of stuff done.
I try to. I seem to make little strides in a certain area, and then I come back to it in a week and make another little stride, and then kind of hit some other stuff. And
we did an interview with N-Scale Shenanigans guy Clem Harris.
Oh yeah, real good guy. Just finished up my GS4 not too long ago.
Oh, he painted it for you? Or?
Did the sound install. I had that thing blown out into about 1 million pieces, and that one just absolutely frustrated the living hell out of me. So he's done 4 or 5 of them. So I sent it to him, and I told him, I was like, dude, do your thing. Let me know what I owe you.
Okay.
And he did an absolutely fantastic job. It'll actually be in one of my next videos here coming up.
All right, cool. And are you putting videos on the YouTube channel, or are you just doing videos on the Facebook page?
I'm trying to get more YouTube stuff up. I wanted to do something weekly, but it looks like I'm going to start doing stuff bi-weekly. Just kind of an update of what I've achieved over the last 2 weeks for the sake of keeping track of what I've done on the layout.
Right.
Because I feel like if I can get in the rhythm of doing stuff regularly again, it'll force me to try and make progress on the layout.
I'd agree with that. It would make you keep going.
Because it's the accountability of having to put something out and say, this is what I've achieved in the last 2 weeks versus, hey guys, the layout's in the exact same state. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see, that's if I ever did a podcast, the one thing I would make myself do is make sure I had a broadcast out every Monday and Tuesday so that it would force me to keep going.
Yeah.
You know.
That's good thinking, if you ever start a podcast.
And if I ever start a podcast, that's what I'm going to do. And then, I'll have to send people shirts, and I'll have to keep the website up to date and the Facebook page up to date. But the number one thing is make sure you get that podcast out.
Right, of course.
I see here so are you doing SoundTraxx turnouts then?
Yeah, I bought a Tim Wars did the make and take clinics at the National last year.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of spare in-scale sets. So I bought a in-scale set from him. Actually from our very own Kevin Marks, but from Tim. And it was enough to do, but it had the template, all the the assembly fixture, all the filing tools, and enough material to make 5 switches. So I was able to actually knock out my yard ladder completely with SoundTraxx turnouts.
And it's all attached, and you have it all attached and everything.
Yep, that's one of my other photos. I think a little sooner there on my Facebook page.
So how do you find doing SoundTraxx and N-Scale?
At first, they're challenging. They really make you question what you're doing in N-Scale to start with. But when you get one done and it's just smooth as glass, there's no question about it.
That's the one thing that everybody says about SoundTraxx turnout is how smoothly they operate.
Mm-hmm. Somewhere between that and then doing the math. And originally I wasn't going to spend a whole lot at the National last year. And then when they told me they had those kits together, and I think it was a couple bucks off what I could have bought it all on his website for. That and I had it right there in person. But if you do the math, I think for the in-scale ones, over time, just buying the assembly fixture, the filing tools, and materials, those switches pay for themselves in 15 switches. So if you're building a large layout, you can essentially pay for your switches against pre-built ones in 10 or 15 switches.
Yeah. And they run better and everybody says they run so well.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about this trip. Man, you're doing so much. You're just a bit of powder, and here we're looking at an engine house there. What was that for?
That was actually picked that up out at Midwest. It's a Monroe Models engine house, and it was the first building I had to build to get my track spacing for the engine house on the yard side there. And I think I picked it up for $26 or something like that. It was real cheap, a little wood kit.
Right.
They make them both in N-Scale and HO, and it's actually been one of my one of the kits that I most enjoyed putting together.
Now, what's the name of that company?
It's Monroe Models, MONROE Models.
I'm going to work the Google on the Internet machine again. MON.
Or you can go to Midwest Model Railroad, and they have them on their website as well.
Oh, do they?
Yep. That's where I bought mine originally, was out there in the store. I was talking to him, and it comes with the building, all the metal details, the cast metal details, the dumpster barrels, all the exhaust stuff, all the window glazing, everything. Like I said, I think I got that N-Scale one for $26, $27.
Right.
I mean, I felt like I should have been walking out with a ski mask, too, because it was an absolute steal.
All right, so then I go to N-Scale. So if I go to Midwest, the Midwest Model Railroad site, And now what, I click on N-scale structures, I guess?
Yeah.
How am I going to find the Monroe one? Do I do the search or something?
You could search it. And they make that in both N-scale and HO, so the HO guys aren't left out on that.
MON. ROE models. I'm going to try that. Let's see what happens. Nothing's happening. Oh, here comes something. Monroe models, weathering wash. Do they have any structures? Monroe models, Stone Arch Bridge. Monroe models, model. I've never even heard of these guys.
Yeah, they're fairly new, if I recall correctly.
Got a lot of stuff. This hobby isn't. Oh, there it is. There. Wow. They say the manufacturer's suggested retail price is $74.95, and they're selling it for $54.
Is that the HO version?
It is the HO kit.
Yeah.
So then it comes in N scale too, and it's considerably less again.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here. I know it's somewhere out there.
Well, how about that? Well, what do you know? How about that?
And like I said, it's been probably, I'd say, one of my top 3.
Really?
Best kits to put together.
That good, eh?
It was really well cut. All the instructions were super clear. The paint stuck real well. Didn't warp. Yeah, it was a real good kit.
What's the name of that guy that you were always talking about, the DCC guy that you really like?
Streamline Backshop, Brian out there?
Yeah, Streamline Backshop. Streamline, right? ST, yes. Like stream as in water?
Streamline, like the old passenger trains.
Streamline what?
Backshop.
When I get the podcast out, there's a great 5 minutes about me trying to ask you as we're going along the Hiawassee rail excursion, and we were hanging out the vestibule there. We were hanging out between the cars. Is that what they call that, the vestibule?
Yeah.
And we were hanging out the cars, and we're going along by the river, and I said, what is it where you call that, where the water's swirling? And you're going, water? And I'm like, no, it's moving fast enough that it's swirling, but it's not rapid. It's pretty funny listening to it, because I'm trying to get you to tell me, and you're looking at me yeah, I can hear in your voice, you're looking at me like, what is wrong with you?
I just wasn't sure what you were fishing for there.
Well, nobody is. Is anybody really sure what I'm fishing for?
Ain't that the truth?
All right. Okay. And so let's talk about that Hiawassee trip. We enjoyed that. We had a good time.
It was a great time.
That was an awesome time. That was a totally awesome time. And we rode the train, and we booked that day. What'd you do? Go shopping or something?
She went to some of the national park or the state parks there in the area and was taking photos.
And how did that go?
I never saw any of the photos, so I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Oh, so not that well then?
I guess not.
Well, maybe she ran out of film.
That might very well be. Although that really wasn't her thing. We ended up going the day after we left. We drove up to Rock Island State Park there in Tennessee, and it's 2 dams on a river, and the old riverbed's exposed, and there's a lot of natural waterfalls under that riverbed. And she's got some really great photos from there. It was a really cool stop.
All right, well that's good. She got some good photos then.
Yeah.
All right, so then you decided to go out to Colorado.
Yes.
And what was that like?
So I did this trip when I was in 2nd grade with my grandparents.
Right.
Drove out. I don't remember where we laid down the first night. I think it was like Dodge City or something like that. And then got up and drove to Durango the next day. Did the Great Sand Dunes National Park there just east of Alamosa. And then went up to Durango, and then we ended up doing the Grand Canyon after that when I was a kid. But I didn't quite have that time this time around, so we just did Durango. So we got up, went to work, packed everything in the car, went to work on, would have been Tuesday. And then I went and picked up Brooke, and we turned it west and just drove for as long as we could. And we ended up out in the middle of absolutely nowhere in Colorado. I'm trying to think. Cheyenne Wells, I think it was the town that we were in. Cheyenne Wells, Colorado. I mean, we drove for from just after 5 when I got off work to almost 11, and we found some little motel there in Cheyenne Wells. Laid down, got back up that next day, and drove the rest of the way to Durango. So we drove to down to Ordway, Colorado, and found an old C&W. I can't remember. I think it's an Alco unit out there in the middle of absolute nowhere on the old Missouri Pacific main line.
So you weren't even okay. So you went out 70 and then you jumped off.
Yeah, we jumped off at about Oakley there.
Okay, and you ended up in Cheyenne Wells. So it doesn't take that. Tony says it takes like 8 hours to get to Denver. Does that sound about right?
Oh yeah, Kansas is just long, expansive nothingness. Go at night.
I'll go during the day.
I want horrible.
Yeah, but Tony and I will be talking.
I had Brooke, and that didn't make it much better.
Okay.
It's literally flat nothingness forever.
Yeah, but
until you hit about Colorado Springs or.
Yeah, but it's great on the bike. It is great on the bike because you're just like motoring along like heck. And of course, I'm assuming that I need an 8-track. The Caddy only has an 8-track player.
Are you kidding? That thing's got a record player in the back seat. Don't fool yourself.
All right. So okay. So what was Colorado? What was So where was the? I can hear your thing clicking there.
Oops, sorry.
Where's the? So you went to Durango first.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that like when you first pulled in?
It's always breathtaking to see the mountains, and if Brooke would ever let me, I'd move out there in a heartbeat. It's just absolutely beautiful. The one thing that caught me by surprise, though, is we got in at about 5 o'clock. So I told Brooke, I said, I want to drive you through downtown and show you the train station. Well, when I was a kid, the highway used to go right by the train station, right down Main Street. But now, because that area is blown up so much, the highway actually goes around downtown. And it completely caught me off guard because now the train station's kind of tucked back in a corner, and it's amazing how much has changed versus how much I remember from when I was a kid. But, it was nice, especially weather-wise. I'd love to be up there right about now because it was about a beautiful 52 degrees in the morning and maybe 70-something was your high. Oh, right. Stunning weather.
Yeah. But then it's not like that in the it won't be like that in the wintertime. It's only like that. That's only like that for 5. So you went through Pagosa Springs. Downtown Pagosa Springs.
Yeah. Yep. Went through, went actually around Alamosa, hit the Great Sand Dunes, then stopped in South Fork. And if anybody's ever going through South Fork on the way to Durango, there's a little barbecue place called Two Rivers Barbecue in South Fork, and it is a must stop.
Right.
Oh, man. I begged Brooke to let me stop on the way back out. It was so good.
Oh, I hear there was some problems on the way back from the barbecue. You wouldn't stop at a White Castle for Tony.
I'm not one of those guys that goes out of my way for a White Castle. I'm never been big on it.
Yeah, but if he's your boss and he wants you, like he's the boss at the magazine, if he's the boss, wouldn't you go, oh yeah, I'd love to go to a White Castle?
Listen, man, he drove the entire way we were near a White Castle, and then once we were far away from him, that's when I drove. So, because I didn't get to drive till we were almost in Missouri, trying to think of where we were at by the time I got to drive. We weren't even close to one, though.
So did you go through, when you went through Pagosa Springs, did you go through Wolf Creek Pass?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. And it's just stunning.
So you don't even know what I'm talking about, do you?
What do you mean?
The Wolf Creek Pass, a song by C.W. McCall.
No, I'm lost.
You're going to have to watch. You're going to have to listen to that song. Wolf Creek Pass, they're running down the Great Divide. Bah, 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 bah. Him and his cousin Earl, they were driving a truckload of chickens, but they ran out of brakes. And then cousin Earl, his cigar, the ashes from his cigar fell down and burned his pant leg, and then the brakes went out, and they're driving this tractor trailer full of chickens. You have to listen to the song Wolf Creek Pass.
I'll have to look that up. That sounds interesting.
It was a hit in the 70s. You have to look that up. You do you know the song Convoy?
Oh, of course.
Well, this was
I played it for you when we were in Rochelle.
This was his other hit.
Gotcha.
Wolf Creek Pass was his other hit. All right, so you get to Durango, and the very next day you ride the train, or what?
Yeah. So we laid down, got back up that next morning, and caught the 8 o'clock out of Durango. Rode up to Silverton. I forgot how long of a day that makes because it's 4 hours up, 4 hours down. And you never think about it because it's like 45 miles, but at 18 miles an hour, man, it makes a day of the whole thing.
Right.
But something about a coal-fired steam engine's just, I don't know, there's just something magical about that whole thing. And one of my favorite moments when we first got on the train, I told Brooke, I said, don't wear anything you care about. Don't bring anything you care about. I said, you're going to be, we got a seat in the open gondola so I could shoot photos. I said, don't bring anything nice. Don't bring anything you care about. It's going to be covered in soot and ash and all kinds of other stuff. So we get on the train, get our seats. We're at the very end of the gondola, which was perfect because I could stand up the whole time. First thing she does is sets her bright pink rubber phone case down on the seat next to us, slides it, and then picks it back up again. And it looks like you had taken black weathering powders and just streaked it across the back of her phone case. And I looked at her, and it took every ounce of me to not say I told you so.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
So, okay, so the train, the ride's pretty cool from Durango to Silverton then, eh?
Oh, it's cool both ways. Somewhere between all the equipment they have laying out and just to see that line today and imagine, that's the one thing I told Brooke. I said, just imagine back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, being up here with just wagons and pickaxes, just plowing your way through the mountains.
Yeah.
Trying to do that stuff. And then one of the other things I really like about the organization is that whole Durango and Silverton, they do everything the way they used to. They all have radios, but nobody uses them unless there's an emergency. So one of my favorite things to do, and I watched them every time, if we passed a yellow board where they'd have to slow down, when we get back to the next green board where they'd speed up again, the engineer would look out the window at it, and then the first conductor or first head brakeman would point at it. There's usually the conductor was in the middle of the train, and then the rear brakeman would point at it. And once the tail of the train passed, the rear brakeman would take their hat off and hold it straight out. The front brakeman would watch for them and hold their hat out. The engineer would look for the hats, knowing that's how they knew they passed it, would acknowledge with the whistle, and on they go. Nothing was done with radio.
Wow.
Backing up, turning the train, coming to a stop at the stations, everything was done by hand. And it's just amazing that an organization continues that tradition that's been going on for, hundreds of years now.
Yeah, yeah. So is there a shorter ride you can take, or is that the only ride you can take is from Durango to Silverton?
Unless you get off and hike, or there's a zip line about 2/3 of the way up. The other quicker option is they have a bus that can pick you up in Silverton and bring you back down. Or they can take you from Durango to Silverton and then you ride the train back down. Either one, but
okay.
I think you miss a lot by not taking the train back the other way.
Yeah, and so there's only one train a day that leaves at 8 a.m. out of Durango.
Now there's two, 8 a.m. and an 8:45.
Oh, and the 8:45. So do they both get to Silverton, and then this one in Silverton, the 8 a.m. leaves after the 8:45 gets there? Or?
Yeah, so there's two tracks down the middle of the road, and usually the 8 a.m. will pull up, unload, and it's about 45 minutes to an hour, give or take conditions, before that next one pulls in. So in that time, they'll take the 8 a.m. down to the Y and stick it onto the Y track. The 8:45 will pull in, unload, and while the 8 a.m.'s pulling out to back up to the to Silverton again, the 8:45 will take off to the Y track, and they just kind of exchange spots there.
Right. Okay. And then away they go.
Yep.
Cool.
That's how they turned them and head back the way they came.
Now, how much did it cost you to ride on the gondola?
I think it was $100-something round trip.
Each or total?
Each. So it was $240 or something to that effect for Brooke and I both for round trip.
Because the gondola is extra, isn't it? A
little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And can you ride in the caboose at all? Or like, do they have special where you can ride in the caboose or up in the cab or anything like that?
So unless you're like really good friends with them, the cab part's kind of off limits. They do have a caboose, and I really want to do this. You can rent them for special event stuff. The day we rode, the last 3 cars were rented out to some corporation who was having an event, and they stopped there at the zipline place about 2/3 of the way up and dropped them all off. But they had the last 3 cars of our train were all the red promotional cars. Right. But they do have a couple of the old Woodside cabooses up there, and I'd love to rent one with a group of friends just to ride up in one. I always thought that'd be just too neat.
That would be very cool. That'd be very cool. I wonder how much it costs to do that.
I don't know, but if anybody wants to do it, I'll happily split it with you. My email is stmason.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that with you. If we
I'd do it in a heartbeat. That'd be neat. Either that or a private car, one of the two.
Yeah, either way, eh? A private car is probably the caboose has got to be easy. Let's see, packages. There's tour packages, groups, events, adventure packages. So what is this zip line? Like, where do you zip line all the way back or something?
No, so there's they've got like 27 spans right there in the canyon. Like I said, it's about 2/3 of the way up from Durango to Silverton. So you get off with the 8 a.m. train, and then you spend, a good portion of the day zip lining through that canyon. And I think they do food, and I think you can even stay up there too. And then you can either catch that 8 a.m. train as it comes back, get back on, and come back down, or I don't know. They've got all kinds of packages. I've got a flyer. I was going to look into it. I thought it'd be neat to do the next time we go.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So then how long did you stay in Durango?
We stayed for 3 days. So we got there Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon. Stayed through Thursday. We rode the train, and then Friday. So I guess 2 days technically. Friday got up, and I went over to SoundTraxx to tour the facility and meet with George and meet all the rest of the fine folks there. Although it was the day before Labor Day weekend, so they were working with an absolute skeleton crew when I got there.
Right.
But did that, then went back to the hotel, checked out, got Brooke, and drove up to Colorado Springs.
All right. Well, don't get excited. Let's talk about your trip to SoundTraxx, because that must have been fun spending the day with George. We were with George a fair bit of the time, or when we say George, we speak of George Bogatuk or George the Goalie. Either one. Him and I constantly text back and forth about hockey because he's a huge hockey fan.
Oh yeah.
I
think they just won championship on their league last season, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. They've redone their website. Wow.
They just released that a couple days ago, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Everybody's doing it. I think Scale Trains just updated theirs today. Would be the 17th.
Okay.
Not to date this, but
yeah, don't date it. Let me see. I'm trying to find out where we see support staff. Maybe is he in there? Because he was on. There he is. George Bogatuk III. George joined SoundTraxx in 2008 as a lifelong modeler. I got to interview him. He'd be a great guy. Somewhere
between Sound Decoder stuff and then his Missouri Pacific modeling is fantastic.
Yeah. Did you get to see that, or you've just seen it on the internet?
No, I haven't seen his layout. I wish we'd had more time. But he brings stuff to the RPM there in St. Louis every year, so I've had the opportunity to see some of his models that way.
All right. So you get to SoundTraxx, and what happens when you get there?
Well, originally I stepped out to take a photo for the magazine, and we'll end up running an editorial on it here in the next month or two. And apparently they were all having a meeting upstairs because it's 2-level. The lab where they make all the decoders is downstairs, and then the sales offices are upstairs. So they're having a meeting upstairs in one of the offices that has all windows on it, and they see a guy get out of a car with Missouri plates, walk up to the front of the building, and take a photo of the whole building. And then I squat back down to pack my camera back away. And apparently George wasn't in the room, so I look up, and there's just a line of people at the window staring down at me. And I kind of stopped, and I wasn't sure. So I continued to pack my camera back in the bag, and then I started to walk up to the door, and about that time I see George come up to the window. His face kind of lights up, and he takes off running back out of the room to come down the stairs to get me. And he's like, he opens the door, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you're here." I was like, "Sorry for putting on a show for everybody upstairs." He's like, "It's okay. They just wasn't sure who was from Missouri to see the building."
So did he know you were coming?
Yeah, George knew, but apparently the message was not passed along.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Wow, they're having a webinar tomorrow. I should check in. Or on Thursday, they're having a webinar at 11 a.m. too. So okay, you get to SoundTraxx, and George greets you outside the door. So what did you think when you went? So is it a fancy building?
It's a fairly new building, very modern looking. I think they just moved into it 2 or 3 years back. It's fairly new to them.
Right.
We went down to their lab area first to see where they make the decoders. And when you walk in, and they'll actually take you, they've got a room between the stairs and the lab itself that's all glass. And you can see all the machines and, everything that's in that room. So I got to go into that room, and George kind of walked me through the process, what all the machines do. Got to see a couple of the techs working on decoders while I was there, walked me through how they start from parts in a box that come off a truck and then go out as a finished decoder. So essentially walk me through the entire process of the life of a decoder, from components to finished product going out to you.
Yeah, same as NCE, but yeah, carry on. And then
after that, took me upstairs and got to meet most of the staff, which I am pulling absolute blanks right now. But they've got a lady who does all their graphic design, who also does their video editing for the videos they put up every so often. I've got to meet the folks with the Blackstone, their narrow gauge model stuff, as well as the two dogs that are the official greeters for SoundTraxx. And they were, should we say, lively that morning.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think one lifted a tail for me when I come up the stairs.
So they were the opposite of lively.
Yeah. I'm just assuming they were already on the Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Taking that whole thing off, and they were just, having to be in because somebody else was. But yeah, they were not thrilled with me being there.
And so, they moved into the new building in December of 2015. And so then, so they showed you the whole process of making the decoders. Mm-hmm. And then you went upstairs and met everybody. So how long were you at Digitrax then?
SoundTraxx. Close.
SoundTraxx.
About an hour and a half or so.
Yeah, can you imagine? I can hardly wait till the podcast gets good, eh?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's going to be great. I hope I'm still around for it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so an hour and a half. So then what did you do after that?
Went and picked up Brooke, drove up to Colorado Springs, laid down for the night, and then did the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, which is actually always a really great zoo. Minus the part is built on the side of a mountain, so bring your hiking boots. But it was good. It was neat. They had a lot of cool stuff, and everything seemed to be really well taken care of, and everything was super clean. It was definitely one of the better zoos I've been to.
See, I have a problem with visiting zoos in other cities because the animals look the same, whether you visit the zoo in your own city or whether you go to, like, a tiger is a tiger, whether you're visiting the zoo in Colorado Springs or you visit the zoo in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Right. The tigers and the monkeys look the same. The tigers look the same. The giraffes look the same. The elephants look the same. So I always what's the point of going to another city to see a zoo when you can see the animals in your own town? But it sounds like it was well worth the trouble.
Yeah, that was Brooke's thing. The train ride was my thing. That was Brooke's thing.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
that's fair enough.
Have your give and take.
That's fair enough. And then from Colorado Springs, you headed home, did you?
Yeah, we got up Saturday morning and did the zoo Saturday morning. Got out of there about 1:00, and I looked at Brooke and I told her, I was like, I'm going all the way home. I said, I'm not stopping. We're not paying for another hotel somewhere around Topeka. I said, I'm going all the way home. So we turned it and gunned it. Yeah, we got home about 11 something. Yeah, after time change.
You sound like you're pretty much of a fun date.
Oh, I'm great. I'm a lot of fun. She loves me, I think.
We're going home. That's it.
Well, I didn't want to pay for another hotel room, so I told her, I was like, I'm going to just run it and gun it all the way there. I said, we don't have to unpack the car. We'll go upstairs, lay down, sleep, and then do it tomorrow. I was like, but let's just get home so we don't have to pay for another hotel room. And she's kind of, I say kind of in parentheses, kind of cheap like I am. So she agreed, and we gunned it all the way home. And I have 2 good police stories for you, too.
Oh, okay, go.
Yeah. I had a run-in with the Colorado Highway Patrol coming out of Durango, coming into one of those small towns. So I slowed down, which I don't think a lot of people liked me for it, but I always obey the speed limits coming into those little teeny tiny towns.
Sure.
So we're coming into a town, so I slow down, and there's kind of a dip and then an uphill, and it rolls a little bit, leveling out.
Right.
And there was a stoplight right at that roll. So the light turns yellow, and I'm moving decently, and I think I see the line, and I'm like, oh, I'll make it. I get up to that stop line, and that line is not where I thought it was. Turns red, I go through it. I told Brooke, I was like, that's all me. Hopefully there wasn't anybody back there. So I look in my rearview mirror, and cross traffic starts going. The first guy pulls out and turns right around the island and comes towards me. Uh-oh. I saw a little sticker on the side of his car. Yeah, highway patrol. There was a dedicated lane for turning. I knew it was for me.
Oh, yeah.
So he gets in behind me there, and we creep up. There was a gas station about a quarter mile up. I didn't want to leave him on the side of the highway. So I slowed down and put my blinker on, got up there and pulled over. He comes up to the window, and he introduces himself. And I do the same thing. I'll leave my hands up on the wheel till they introduce themselves. I'll put my hand out the window and shake his hand and introduce myself. You catch him off guard every time.
Right.
Because a lot of those people won't you wouldn't introduce yourself to somebody after you've been pulled over. So I introduced myself, and he said, you know why I stopped you? I said, dude, I went over that line. I said, it was all me. I said, I thought it was up or back further than it was. And he said, okay. So he takes my license, registration, goes back, comes back up, and he said, where are y'all coming from? I said, just came from Durango, out on vacation. We're headed back home. And So he comes back and he said, Mr. Mason, I'm going to let you off with a warning. Stuck my hand back out the window and shook his hand and thanked him again.
Good
and
job.
He said, I'm letting you off with a warning because you're the first person that's been completely honest with me today.
Well,
Part of me was halfway tempted to ask him how long he'd been on the clock. Because if it's like 40 minutes, I'd be like, okay, well, you just came from the station and got in your spot. But if you've been out here for 8 hours, the people in Colorado are jerks.
Most people, I don't think, are very honest with the police. So there you go. So what's the second story?
So got off with a warning that time, and he was real cool, real good guy. So then coming through Kansas, coming up on Hayes, Kansas, I'm in the left-hand or right-hand lane, and some guy gets in front of me and slams on his brakes. So I get out there, and I'm doing maybe 1 or 2 over. And I whip out real hard in that left lane to avoid him, and there's a cop sitting in the median, and he stares at me as I go by. And I'm like, I don't know what that was about. And I look down, I'm getting low on gas. I said, okay, I need to get off here and get gas. So we pull down there into Hayes, and I fill up, and I see him go hauling over the bridge with his lights on. I'm like, okay. So I get back in the car, and I start thinking to myself, I'm like, was that for me? Because he stared at me real good as I went by. I'm like, surely that wasn't for me. I was like, okay, we'll just get back on the highway and go then. So we get up on the ramp, and just as I crest the top of that ramp, he's sitting right there. And he stares, and he points at me as I go by. And I'm like, oh, that's so for me. There's no way it's not. And then I keep looking in the rearview mirrors. We're driving away, and he's still sitting there. And I'm like, it's so for me. The way he stared at me, I mean, just one of those, oh, I'm going to get you kind of looks.
Right.
It spooked me so bad. I drove for about 30 minutes and pulled over. I told Brooke, I was like, you got to drive. I'm spooked out over here. I really thought we were going to get it coming into Hayes there. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't doing more than 2 over. But yeah, just the way he stared and pointed at me as I went by, I was like, oh, we're so screwed.
So what's the speed limit on the interstate?
75 through there, through most of Kansas once you get past Topeka.
Oh, yeah? And
yep.
you can't do 10 over?
Well, you can. Just don't get caught, but I don't.
They'd pull you over for like 8 or 9 over, would they?
Oh, I was only doing like 2 or 3 over.
I know, but so what were you panicking about? Did you have some happy grass in the car or something?
No, I didn't bring anything with me I shouldn't have. But it's just the way he stared at me. And I mean, he locked on with me and pointed, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that guilt.
It just spooked the absolute crap out of me.
Yeah, that guilty look. That's the problem.
I guess.
Wait till you get to be my age. You won't care if they pull you over. They'll be like, yeah, whatever. Okay, so all right, so it's 75 through Kansas. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
really haul.
I'm assuming the caddy has cruise control.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard to get in and out of that car. That's going to be the fun part. Is for 4 days we're going to be like struggling every time to get in and out of the car.
Oh yeah, I told Tony. I said it'd almost be easier if you just rolled out of the car and did a push-up to get up. You're trying to climb out of that car.
It sits so low. It's like a vet. It's got to be built in some sort of vet kind of. Anyways, okay, cool. So then you made it back. Yep,
made it back in one piece, unpacked, and went on with our normal.
And so did you buy any good? Did you stop at any? Did you go to Caboose when you were in there? Or no, you never made it to Denver?
No, we weren't up that far north.
Okay, so Colorado Springs is like, what, an hour and a half south of Denver maybe, eh?
Just about, something like that.
Okay, cool. So and all in all, it was a great trip.
Yeah, it was a fantastic trip. Got a lot of good shots. I still need to go through and edit quite a bit, but it was nice to get away.
And did you see any other railroading other than the Durango and Silverton?
Got to see, like I said, I found that CN Alco unit out in the middle of absolute nowhere in Colorado. I don't remember where it was now. And then shot a little bit of Denver and Rio Grande stuff there in South Fork. Some of the stuff that's still left on the old. It's now the San Luis and Rio Grande.
Right.
The Durango and Silverton we shot a bunch of course, and then on the way back we actually passed the local that works out around Alamosa for the San Luis and Rio Grande. So I hopped out and I shot the local with one of those modified F40 PHs, kind of cruising by at about 10 mile an hour on their rickety track. And I'm kind of glad I did, because just this week they just announced that they're defaulting on some of the loans. Oh. So we're not sure about how much longer the San Luis and Rio Grande will be around.
And where does it run from and to?
It runs all the way down to the north end of the Cumbres, and Toltec is their most southmost point. I think South Fork is as far out as they run track-wise, but they haven't used that trackage past Monte Vista in I think a year or so. And I don't remember how far east they run. I want to say out to La Juana, maybe.
All right. So, what other projects are you working on right now?
I got 1 million building kits to do, so I can get my track spacing done, so I can start laying track. Hopefully, I can knock out as much as I can here in the next week, so you can come by and maybe see it.
Yeah, I want to go to Stone Canyon Pizza. At what time do you get off work?
5.
And what can we meet at 6 for Stone Canyon Pizza?
For sure.
Where is it in relation to Kansas City?
It is about maybe 20 minutes, maybe not even 20 minutes northwest of downtown.
Northwest. Okay, so we're headed in the right direction then.
Yeah. It's about, if you drew a line from my work over in KCK to Tony's, it's about straight in line with us.
But Tony lives up in Plattsburgh, though.
Yeah, he lives way up north, so you guys have to drive down to get it. But...
Well, we're heading over down. We'll be on I-70 anyways.
Yeah, so you'll end up taking 435 out and around if you're going to 70, but it's not too far out of the way there.
Yeah, we don't want to be out of the way, eh? We gotta.
But it is Stone Canyon. I go out of the way for Stone Canyon.
All right.
Oh man, it's good.
So we're gonna have to nail down. I'm thinking I'm gonna leave here on the Tuesday, roll into his place on the Wednesday afternoon. We'll hit Stone Canyon. We'll fly out to Denver on them being there on Thursday and do Greeley and maybe catch up to the big boy on the Saturday. And then head over to Spring Creek. I want to see Moffat Tunnel too.
Yeah, that's a neat spot. I always see. I haven't been, but I've always seen his photos from him when he was a kid and his father as well. He's got some real neat stuff.
Yeah, and then we want to hit Spring Creek. You've never been to Spring Creek either, have you?
Nope.
It's going to be a trip for the ages. I want to do it documentary style.
Keep you lots of phone battery, that's for sure.
Yeah, I might bring my other camera too. I got a pretty neat Canon. They used to make these really neat G9, G10s. And I'm going to bring a tripod. And then I'm going to take a few shots of us just driving. We'll set up the tripod and backtrack. Then some shots of us driving. This is going to be, I'm going to end up making like a 5 or 10 minute movie. We're going to have, it's 100, it'll be 300 miles to Denver. We got a half a Snickers bar. It's dark and we're wearing sunglasses.
I think it's a beautiful title.
Yeah. The Blues Brothers. I saw that on the big screen. So okay, so you're doing buildings. What are you doing for the magazine right now? I can hear you clicking again.
Sorry.
Am I boring you?
No, I haven't yawned yet. I'm doing all right. No, I've got like I said, I've got these 2 kits for Gordy's buddy to review and finish. Then we've got Scale Train C39 or C38-9 or -8 or C39-8, whatever it is. I don't recall off the top of my head what it is. We've got Cotto Amfleet baggage cars to review. I've got a whole handful of different railbox cars between the Athearn Prime to Grind stuff, which has actually been out a while, but I completely missed it, so we're doing a little thing on that. Atlas brought out some new patch stuff. What else do we have? More containers from Atlas and Jacksonville Terminal.
I want to interview those guys, Jacksonville Terminal.
Oh, Stan down there's a real good guy. I got to meet him there last year at the National. He's a fantastic guy.
Yeah, he's somebody we need. I got him on the list. That's who we got to talk to. So what's the one thing that has surprised you about being working for the magazine? Like, it sounds like you got a lot of work to do. So, like, what's the one thing that has surprised you working for the magazine?
The one thing that surprised me, how busy Tony can keep me. No, the number of projects Tony can come up with. No, hang on. I don't know. I think the one thing that surprised me is it's really the outreach and the recognition among the manufacturing community to say, just because I'm now more in contact with Shane Wilson and George and those guys, and I wouldn't have even stopped at probably wouldn't have stopped at SoundTraxx if it wouldn't have been for knowing George and being in the position I'm in, and I think the number of doors and connections, number of doors open and connections has been my biggest surprise. Just being the assistant editor for the review magazine, it really does a lot for you.
Yeah, everybody wants to talk to you now.
Yeah, especially when they can't get a hold of Tony. But yeah.
Is that what happens? Are you handing out your cell number? You're like on speed dial for scaletrains.com now?
No, most people still go through Tony. I'm just the in-scale and photography guy.
Okay, so all right, let me ask you this question. This will be my last question. Then I'll let you go because I know you're busy, and then we won't talk again for. Why don't we talk more often?
Because I can't ever get my stuff to work on a peer in.
It's not peer in anymore. It's called Wearby now.
Oh.
No, but okay. Well, you got to figure that out because it can't be that hard. If I can do it, you can do it.
Like I said, man, I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on. I still can't get it. You
need a new computer. It's eaten your program or your Google Chrome. So, okay, you're a huge, when I first met you, you were a huge ESU fan.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're having a lot of contact with the guys, George Bogatuk at SoundTraxx. Where are you now? Are you still a ESU over SoundTraxx?
I've always been a big ESU fan for diesel stuff because it fits and in scale, sounds real good. But there's been a lot of issues since the beginning of the year with ESU in terms of their production was delayed. Some of the version 5s have some spotty work in terms of some of the decoders aren't working the way they're supposed to. It's been really rough because I haven't done a whole lot of sound install stuff myself with ESU. And like I said, primarily because of that delay in production, not having a lot of supply available. So, I'd still say I'm probably ESU for diesel, but I'm very much SoundTraxx for Steam.
Okay.
It's what I had put in my GS4. I'm actually working on a brass GS4, and I just did an MT4, both with SoundTraxx in them. I think their Steam decoder is very well-rounded, plays really nicely. All the sounds are fantastic. I think that's just a really well-rounded product.
So you're for diesel, you're still ESU. You're a little disappointed in. So is the new version 5? Is it a good decoder? They just got bugs in it.
Yeah, it's a great decoder. The amount of stuff they've added and the clarity of the sound, the quality is much higher. What you can do with them has been greatly expanded. It's just there's some bugs that some guys keep hitting, and then there's these little 73-100 drop-in boards. We seem to keep finding the ones that don't work.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what the deal is. I haven't talked much with Matt. I know he's been very busy trying to sort a lot of stuff out, so I haven't bothered him too much on it. But I know they've that whole ESU group's been very hard at work trying to straighten things out.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, how do you think this went?
I think it went good. It can always go better. It can always go worse.
I thought it went pretty good.
I thought it went good.
Yeah, I thought we talked about a lot of interesting stuff.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. And we got to get you on here more often. I mean, it wasn't that hard for us to get together tonight and talk, so we got to get you on here more often. I was like, I started thinking about it about a week ago, and I went, I got to get a hold of Shane and get him back on here. I don't like it when you're not on the podcast.
Well, somewhere between being busy and when your equipment doesn't work, it makes it kind of hard.
Well, we got it working.
For the most part.
I still don't like it when you're not on the podcast. And okay, you can't ditch us just because Tony came and grabbed you on waivers.
Well, you see, when you're kind of paid staff, and they tell you to do something, it's not really a jump. You tell them no. It's a jump, and you ask how high.
I send you T-shirts. Does he do better than that?
Maybe.
Okay. Hey, all right. Last subject. It's just like 2 weeks before the NHL season starts.
Mm-hmm.
Where are your Pittsburgh Penguins going to end up?
Oh man, we've been made a lot of moves this season. Got a lot of new young guys coming in, which always seems to be a really good sign. Starting starting off our seasons. I'd like to say we'll do pretty well. I'm not sure if we'll make a full cup run. There's a couple other teams that are really looking to shape up this year. So, I mean, it's really anybody's hockey game this year.
And what would be one of those teams that's really looking to shape up this year?
You know, the Blues are still looking really good after postseason into preseason here. Was it the Panthers? They said we're making some decent moves too.
Go ahead. You can say it. It won't hurt you to say it.
What, the Maple Leafs? Is that what you're looking for?
Exactly. The Leafs are going to make it to the conference finals. I don't guarantee they're going to make it to the finals this year, but they're making it to the conference finals.
I don't know. It's really anybody's hockey game. I haven't seen anybody stand out too much. Although we're not too far into preseason here, and like you said, the season's not too far away. So there's still a lot of time between now and that cup. But
there's not much to talk about anymore because it's going to be all Leafs for the next 4 or 5 years. They've got their top 3 guys are signed and secured in there, so they're on their way now.
I'm not going to hold my breath, but I like the hustle there.
Nah, we got lots and lots of guys. Hey, wait a minute here. Hold the phone. Has Phil Kessel gone to Arizona? No. Is Phil Kessel now? Is Phil Kessel now with the Arizona Coyotes?
No, it's
no.
There's somebody out further west, I think.
Yeah, I think it's with the Coyotes. I'm going to look it up. He's with the Coyotes now.
Is he? I was thinking of somebody out further out west. Yeah, no, it is.
Now, hot dog Phil Kessel.
Yep.
Nobody eats hot dogs like Phil does.
No, not at all. That was his whole thing with the cup the day he had it. He ate hot dogs out of it all day.
And without ketchup, too, I bet you.
You know, I'd opt for ketchup, but without ketchup, it's kind of dry.
All right. Let's close this puppy up. Do you want to do the email address or do you want me to?
You better do it. I'd mess it up.
All right. Let me think now. Address. Oh, okay. How about this? Our email address is modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modelers with 1 L, like Silverton. Not 2 L's like Telluride. Is there Is there 1 L or 2 L's in Telluride?
Are you looking to me like I know?
Yeah, I am.
This is going to be an issue.
All right, I'll look it up. I'll work the Google on the internet machine. Right now, there's 2 L's in Telluride. I got it right. Oh, man, that was a great one. Right now, our buddy Rod Deary is out there in Australia, and he's like, man, he's cheering me on because he loved that one. So that's modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modelers with 1 L like Silverton, not 2 L's like Telluride. That was a beauty. That was one of the best we've ever had off the top of our head.
What a stunner.
It was a stunner. And we have a website, modelerslife.com. Go there and you'll see all kinds of stuff. You'll see that. What should the cover photo for? Oh, it's got to be the cover photo. It's got to be a picture of the Durango and Silverton.
I've got a whole pile of them. I'll get one edited to you and sent over.
Yeah. A Shane Mason photo for the cover. Come on, do it. You can do it. I know you can. And can you handle the end? You want to try the end? The absolute end of the podcast? Or do you even listen to the podcast anymore?
Dude, I haven't listened to it in quite a while. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm a number of episodes behind.
Why don't you listen to it?
I'm busy.
Well, you're busy. What do you listen to when you're working on your projects?
Mostly jazz.
Jazz music. What do you listen to when you're driving back and forth to work?
Mostly jazz.
Oh, so have you lost interest in the modeler's life?
There was a little lull. I'm starting to slowly catch back up again here.
Okay.
But I am way behind now.
Like you're like a year behind now or something.
Probably.
So you don't even know what I'm talking about at the end, do you?
Couldn't tell you.
All right. Let's play along then and see if you get it.
Okay.
So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10.
Nope.
Nothing, eh?
Nope. I think I must still be before that.
You can't.
Well, this is a bad sign.
You can't be. You can't be one of the staff of the podcast. You were so excited that you can't be on the staff page and not even know the end and be like a year and a half behind. What kind of jazz do you listen to?
What don't I listen to? Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Louis Prima, one of my favorites.
You don't listen to that stuff, do you?
The Buddha.
Well, yeah,
stuff, huh?
Yeah. Well, when they start, they're just making noise. There's no words. They're just making noise.
You mean improv?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did my high school year, or my senior year in high school. It's jazz band where we did improv stuff.
But the vocal stuff. It's the vocal stuff that drives me.
No, it's just a lot of the old classics. I don't listen to much of the new stuff or the Buddha stuff.
Yeah, but
you mean scat singing?
Yeah, scat singing. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, Ella Fitzgerald does a little bit, but it's pretty well mixed in. Although she's regarded as one of the best.
I would agree with that. From
scat singing. I'm trying to think. There's not too much else on my playlist that has it, so no, I'd say no.
And what? So I'm looking now. I'm working the Google on the Scat Man John. Scat singing. I'm working the Google on the internet machine now. So you should be listening to this because then vocal jazz, scat singing is the vocal improvisation with wordless vocables.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Vocabulas. Man. VOCABLES. Man. Nonsense syllables or without words at all. In scat singing, the singer improvises melodies and rhythms using the voice as an instrument rather than a speaking medium. And that's where you come up with all this. That drives me nuts. That's the part of jazz that I have trouble with. Do you like?
I can't say I'm a big fan of it either.
No, because at some point it's okay if they do a little bit of it, but at some point you're like, stop already. Enough with the. It's like, come on. Like, get back to the song.
It for its musical value for the music of that time. But,
yes.
I would by no means say it's my favorite.
Yes, I would accept that. Yes, it's for the music of the time. Or I'm going to look it up in Wikipedia. Scat singing is the vocal improvisation, nonsensical, blah, 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 blah. Let's see if there is a history. Okay, here's the origins of scat singing. Though Louis Armstrong's 1926 recording of the Heebie-Jeebies, that's a great song, is often cited as the first song to employ scatting, there are many other earlier examples. One early master of ragtime scat singing was Gene Green. Have you ever heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, we had there was a section of so I did jazz and music appreciation, which was more music history than appreciation. But that was actually a segment in both my jazz class and my music history class was ragtime and its contributions to jazz. And Gene Green was one of the big names that we hit during that section.
So do you listen to him at all?
Not much ragtime in my playlist. No, I'm more 40s, 50s, big band.
All right. Entertainer Al Jolson scattered through a few bars in the middle of his 1911 recording of The Haunting Melody. Gene Green's 1917 From Here to Shanghai, which resulted in the faux Chinese scatting. Gene Roddenberry. Wow, this is pretty cool. So I was scatting. So I want you, by the time we do another podcast, I want you to research scat singing a little bit more. Because I shouldn't know it, because you're a bigger jazz fan than I am. So you should, the two things you've got to research are Wolf Creek, C.W. McCall's Wolf Creek Pass, and a little bit more, have a bit more knowledge of scat singing.
All right, I'm putting it in my notes right now.
Yeah, write it down right now. Put it in your notes, and then go. So we'll try the end again. Are you ready? You're not ready.
Part or your original?
What?
I said you want me to scat sing at the end here? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Make another pass at your original.
Yeah, I'm going to make another. See, if you listen, this is, oh my God, this is the most embarrassing thing. One of our most popular guests on the podcast. One of the regular members of the podcast is so far behind, he doesn't know that we have a sign-off now that was invented by our very own Tom Klomoski of the Georgia Northeastern Railroad, which is a great layout that was featured in Model Railroader and many other publications. And he was a former firefighter in Miami, Tom Klomoski. I usually call him Tim, and I call Tim Garland Tom. So it's, but I got it right now. Tom Klomoski. So he invented it when Tony and I were doing the Kelly questions with him one night, and he was a little confused about the scoring. So then it was like, he said he seemed to think that the entire podcast was marginally adequate, which Tony and I agreed with 100%. So then we came up with our sign-off. So what happens is I say, so remember, a modeler's life is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10. It was originally doctors, you see. It was considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10 doctors.
Right.
But then I started letting everybody else do it, and they would make up their own. So it wasn't always doctors.
So it's whatever you want it to be.
Exactly.
So it could be 6 out of 10 New York Pigeons.
Exactly.
Or 6 out of 10 Pittsburgh Penguins.
Now you're getting it. Now you see.
I gotcha.
That's what I was leading you into.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So
thanks for bringing me the water. I'll drink now.
Could have been 6 out of 10 Phil Kessel impersonators.
Well.
It can be 6 out of 10 anythings. The key is you have to have researched it, and you know for sure that that exists.
Right.
Yeah. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
Model Railroad News readers.
Modeler's Life is sponsored by Because I Love Sushi, with 7 convenient locations in the greater Busted Knuckle area. Everyone knows that the best fish swim 200 miles inland.
It's another Lincoln Homer.